So now that we've talked about what Reiki is, I would like to talk about my personal experience with Reiki and how it's changed my life. And I'm going to do my best to keep it under 15 minutes because Reiki has changed my life in so many ways that I could talk about it for quite a while. I came to Reiki at a time in my life when I had left the way of living with my family that I couldn't continue to do any longer. And so I was exploring and I was researching and I was really finding a home in paganism and witchcraft, and I knew that there were deep roots for me in that in that path, in that spiritual path. But I just kind of organically ended up, I was at work and the teacher who was teaching, the Reiki master teacher came in, and I happened to work at a coffee shop at the time. And she had to make some copies, and she just looked at me, and I looked at her, and we ended up getting into a discussion. And I just knew, even though, I knew that I knew what Reiki was on some level, but I didn't at the same time. And I ended up taking my level 1 training with her in that weekend. And my life was completely and forever changed by Reiki and by my teacher. So the Reiki One Training provided me with a deep healing of some very real wounds that I had experienced in through growing up, and also through past lives. The attunement itself, for each of the trainings that you end up taking, if you're going to follow the journey all the way through the master teacher, provides you with a great deal of healing and a deep remembering of your true self and your higher self, and why you are here in this body, in this experience, and why you've chosen other experiences in the past. So expect that when you get your Reiki attunements, that there's going to be a deeply magical experience. And that is what Reiki really has been for me. As I said, I was studying paganism and witchcraft, and in realizing that I was going to be finding my home spiritually in a magical way of believing, and also in a way of believing that incorporated these other realms that I knew existed, and when I've been very lucky, I've had chances to peek into. But Reiki was really my first experience of magic, to me anyhow. It was a really very real, visceral experience of magic, because the healing that occurs through Reiki itself and through the attunement process is, as I said before, deeply magical. And if you allow it to be, very life-changing. If you're open to changing your life, Reiki will just open up and help you to do that in a very peaceful, balanced, harmonious way. Things become very clear when you start working with Reiki energy. What doesn't serve you in your life, what you want more of in your life, what's important to you, and the people that you need or don't need to have around you in order to be open and able to be a healer, which is what Reiki allows you to become, and whether you're receiving Reiki or giving Reiki. Not that we give Reiki, I hate using that word, because you're not giving Reiki. You're just a conduit. So I have to find a better word for that. I apologize for that. But my experience with Reiki has been life-changing through each of the attunements. Things that happened physically that needed to happen for me in my life, through the various attunements, and things happened emotionally and spiritually for me as well. It became very clear what my path was and what was important for me. And I was able to let go of a great deal of guilt at choosing not to be in my parents' religion, which meant that I was cut off from them. I was able to let go of a lot of guilt and start to do a lot of healing because of Reiki. So I think that if you end up taking the Reiki Level 1 practitioner course, and you end up getting the attunement and you're working with Reiki, and you can, and it's accessible to you, it's an amazing experience to take all of the levels, but especially level 2, because this really opens you up to emotional healing for yourself and also being able to provide that for others. And you start to begin working with the Reiki symbols. which are very, very powerful when you start using those during healing sessions, whether that's for yourself or for other people. Also, whatever level practitioner you are, or if you're just receiving Reiki, I find that Reiki ends up, excuse me, Reiki ends up just, it becomes a part of everything in your life. I use it in everything every day. And it's such a great basis for all of the other work that I do, especially, excuse me, especially when I offer tarot and oracle card readings. I use Reiki in those sessions the entire time. I give a small Reiki treatment at the beginning so that I can connect energetically and so that they can connect with me, so that our spirit guides can connect and we can know what we're coming together to do today and what the messages are that need to be received. So having Reiki as a part of that experience, I think, makes a tarot and an oracle card reading very, very healing in a way that perhaps if you were just doing a tarot reading, it wouldn't be as healing. It wouldn't be the same. So I think that Reiki spreads out in every aspect of your life. If you allow it to, if you're open to changing. If you're not open to changing, then Reiki isn't going to help change your life. But if you are, it literally will change everything. Like I said, things become clearer and more balanced, and you have a greater knowledge of yourself and a greater love and care for yourself that Reiki opens up for in your life. And it was actually through Reiki that I ended up picking up and buying an oracle deck and a tarot deck. And as soon as I touched them, I knew that this was what I came here to do. This was a major way for me to be a healer, was through working with the cards and experiencing working with the cards with others. And yes, I'm sure that I would have come into working with tarot and oracle cards in another way if it hadn't been through Reiki. But I was actually doing my Reiki level 2 training at the time, I want to say. Yeah, I think I had just finished my level 2 training because it was around Christmas. And just happened to go into Barnes & Noble's and saw Brian Froud's Heart of Fairies Oracle deck, which I'm hoping to do a review of soon because that's been a life-changing deck in my life. And just knew that I had to get that deck. And as soon as I opened it up, again, just like with Reiki, it was this memory of, oh, I already know how to do all this. I've already done this. And that's what the Reiki attunements have always been for me. I've always had a deeply profound experience with spirit guides and in my higher self, and the memories of what I have been before, and the importance of Reiki in helping me to fulfill some very important things in my life, in this life as a healer, that I've come back to actually complete and finish the experience of being a healer and not be stopped before I can finish that experience. So Reiki is, as a personal experience and as a part of my life, I don't know where I would be without Reiki. I don't think I would be who I am right now. And I don't think that I would be able to see all of the abundance that I have in my life, and the joy and the blessings and the beauty. And I wouldn't know the amazing people that I know now. We offer free Reiki clinics where I did my training. And through the trainings and the Reiki clinics, I ended up meeting an amazing group of healers. And interestingly enough, all women healers we're all so diverse, and we bring a very different healing approach to every aspect of our Reiki and our work with Reiki. But all together, it's this beautiful, beautiful painting that ends up happening. And you can just see how Reiki has changed all of our lives and how we've all bloomed and become, and on the journey to becoming fulfilled beings who are happy and who are doing what they want to do with their life and feeling bliss and joy and following that path. So Reiki has just completely changed my life in the most beautiful way. And I think that the Master Teacher training really, it was a very intense and long process, and we had to do a lot of research and a lot of work, and we had to be really focused on a lot of what we were doing. And a lot of what we were doing, because I was taught through shamanic and Native American teachers, was a lot of vision work and a lot of deep soul and psychic work. So that was very intense process, but it was also very beautiful process because it enabled me to grow as a healer, and it enabled me to grow with Reiki and experience Reiki at an even greater level. Interestingly enough, I did through that experience, and I just graduated in March of this year. I guess completed the course in March. It did lead me to really feel that Reiki truly is universal, and you don't need an attunement to practice Reiki and to be a conduit for Reiki. And I know that comment can offend some people, and I apologize if I offend you by saying that, but I've actually watched people who aren't necessarily Reiki practitioners perform healing and work with others, and I've seen that same healing and that same energy flowing through them. So I do feel that I wouldn't trade taking any of the trainings that I have in my life, and I wouldn't trade my attunements because I've learned so much through them. But I do definitely feel like you don't necessarily need a Reiki attunement to work with Reiki because it is universal, and I think it is really open to all of us, and it's a matter of being open to working with Reiki. So that is something that I have learned through this process. And the way that I was taught Reiki, we had 4 levels. So level 1, level 2, then master, and then master teacher. Sometimes it's just divided into 3 categories, but I ended up having 4 levels, and we had time off in between those, which I think was very valid. And the experience itself was quite intensive, and there was work expected of us, and I love that process, and I think it was really helpful in a building because it keeps you working with the Reiki energy, and the accountability of that, I think, really helps you to appreciate and focus on working with this energy, because like anything else, I mean, Reiki doesn't ever go away, but the more that you work with it, the more open you are to growing with it, and you end up growing in these amazing, amazing ways. So my experience with Reiki has been deeply profound and moving and life-changing experience. I mean, I can truly say to you that my life has completely changed in every way since I started my journey with Reiki. And I'm so blessed in my life, and I've grown so much and learned so much through the process, and met amazing people through the process, and came to tarot and oracle cards through that process. So Reiki is incredible. And if you're listening to me talking about this and you are interested in training with the teacher that I trained with, I invite you to go to earthandskyyoganh.com, and you'll find information there on her trainings and what she has available. And my teacher was Stacy Sky Gibbons, and she was incredible. It was a very beautiful journey, and she held good space for us to be able to go on that journey. So the type of Reiki that I practice in my own life is Shamanic Reiki, and it's a very powerful healing experience, and it does have its roots in a Native American healing, but also in extrasensory experience, and also in all of these other realms that we have access to, which everyone sees in a different way, these realms, right? But through the way that I see them, and having access to these realms and being open to these realms, other healing can occur through Reiki as well, which Shamanic Reiki is incredible. And the book Shamanic Reiki by Llyn Roberts, I believe, I will write down the name of the author in the info bar, is an incredible book about Shamanic Reiki itself, and can answer any questions you have. So if anyone has any questions or haven't answered anything clearly enough, please let me know. Leave me a message, send me a question, and I will get back to you. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.